My name is Tessa Calder, and I'm 35. Competence for me isn't glamorous. It's choreography. At 12:00 a.m., the dishwasher slips into off-peak, like it remembers a promise I made to myself. The thermostat anticipates dusk. The last cell in my budget glows green, a small square of calm in a too-loud world. People mistake quiet order for passivity. They don't see the net you string under your life until the day someone tries to cut it. Gavin says the net is a buzzkill. He didn't say that when he brought me the dream. Pierce and Kane, an aspirational, curated marketing atelier for luxury brands. Not an agency, a boutique, he'd say. Campaigns that look like perfume. Launches you can feel. Marissa Kane would be his creative partner. Just business, he assured me. She's ancient history. Gavin is 29 and blinding in ways that wobble a room. A brainstorm with legs. I used to love that about him. He sees color. I see margins. Balance, we told ourselves. I net about $250 a year from a small consulting firm I built in pieces and patience. I own a modest house, $600 on the appraisal, with $200 left on the mortgage. Some investments, retirement accounts. Comfortable, not rich. I've never needed a spotlight. I just like my numbers to add up. When I brought up the prenup, Gavin laughed. A prenup? He actually tipped his head back. Tess, you're not exactly a hedge fund. It protects us both, I said. From what? Your index funds and your sainted dishwasher? His grin wanted to be charming. It missed. If it's insignificant, I said, then signing shouldn't matter. He rolled his eyes. Fine, whatever makes you feel important. I'll tell people you made me sign one. They'll think it's adorable. Okay, I said. That night, I called Lily Chen. Lily and I have traded middle-of-the-night problems since grad school. Mine were usually spreadsheets, hers, men, and case law. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet. You sure you want to hitch yourself to someone who talks about you like that? She asked. I'm sure I want a prenup, I said. Standard protection. And Lily, add an infidelity clause. Make it significant. How significant? $1 million? She whistled. That's aggressive for your net worth. He thinks I'm not rich enough to need a prenup, I said. He won't read it. You're serious. I'm tired of being treated like a safety net that doesn't cost anything. Lily's voice went clipped and professional. I'll make it airtight. Any infidelity, physical or emotional, triggers the penalty. Documented evidence. No ambiguity. You understand this isn't about revenge. It's not, I said. It's about consequences. The signing went exactly how Lily predicted. Gavin strolled into her office 40 minutes late, iced espresso in one hand, attention in the other. He was texting as he sat, the casual slouch of someone convinced the world is a couch. Where do I sign? He said without looking up. Lily's expression didn't move. I recommend you have your own attorney review. It's fine, he waved. Tessa prints money in her sleep. What's she going to do? Take half my ring light? He chuckled at his own line, then flipped to the signature page. Where's the line? He signed with a flourish and took a selfie, pen angled like a trophy. Later he posted, humoring my CFO girlfriend's anxiety, #prenup, #adulting. The comments called him a good sport. One of them, from Marissa, protect those assets. I screenshotted everything. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt the way I do when I label a storage bin, like someday I'll be glad I did. The jokes kept coming. To the florist, to the caterer, to friends at a rooftop thing I went to and left early. Tessa made me sign a prenup, he'd announce, like anyone is marrying me for her spreadsheet. People laughed. I smiled the way you do when a glass cracks but doesn't shatter. I told myself I was overreacting. He was nervous about commitment. Bravado was cheaper than vulnerability. 2. Tuesdays later, I finished a client meeting early and drove home. His car was in the driveway. There was a second car I recognized from a launch party photo, Marissa's matte gray coupe, angled just a little too casually, like it had been parked in a hurry. The house was quiet in that thick way, soundproofed by whatever you're afraid to hear. Downstairs smelled like citrus cleaner and something else, perfume I don't wear. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, phone in my hand, heart in my mouth. The net, I thought. You strung it for this. Not to catch him, never that, but to catch yourself if you slipped. I hit record before I climbed. At the bedroom door, I paused long enough to be mistaken for merciful. Then I opened it. Chaos is always more mundane than you imagine. There were sheets and limbs, and a throw pillow where no throw pillow belongs. Marissa made a sound that was half gasp, half performance. Gavin scrambled, tanned, and suddenly very, very mortal. Tess, this isn't, he started. Save it, I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised even me. I kept the camera centered on the scene as if it were a specimen, and I, an unwilling lab tech. Gavin, you have 60 seconds to get dressed. Marissa grabbed at the sheet, eyes flicking to the phone, calculating angles, leverage, daylight. She found none. Gavin fumbled for his jeans. It meant nothing, he said. We just old habits. Old habits, I repeated, like I was learning a new vocabulary word. Pack your things. He blinked. You can't be serious. Tess, we're getting married in 3 months. No, I said, we're not. The switch from pleading to anger was a gear he knew too well. You can't throw me out. I live here. You're not on the deed. You're a guest. And you violated the prenup you signed. He laughed, that laugh, the one that says he thinks the fire extinguisher is decorative. The prenup, Tessa, be serious. You should have read it, I said. What? The infidelity clause. You owe me $1 million. The laugh sharpened. You're delusional. I'm not paying you a cent. Your lawyer might disagree, I said. Lily certainly will. He stared at me like I'd started speaking in a language he pretended not to understand. Behind him, Marissa was very quiet, which is another language entirely. Get out, I said. For 3 days there was silence. Then the messages began. First, apology. Gavin, can we please talk? I made a mistake. I love you. Marissa means nothing. Then, contempt. Gavin, you're really ending us over one mistake? You're pathetic, Tessa. You always needed control because you're boring. Then, threat. Gavin, my dad will bury you. You have no idea who you're messing with. I forwarded everything to Lily. She didn't send hearts or swords, just a thumbs up and the word received. By the end of the week, my phone lit up with a number I recognized only from holiday cards, Elaine Pierce. Tessa, she said softly, Gavin told me there was a misunderstanding. Elaine, I said, I have video. The pause was longer this time. You're really going to enforce that ridiculous clause? The one he laughed at and signed without reading? Yes. $1 million. You don't even need that kind of money. That's what liens and payment plans are for, I said. My voice stayed calm. My hands trembled only when I hung up. That afternoon, Richard Pierce strode into my office without an appointment and an excess of certainty. You little, he began. I'm recording this, I said, for my safety. He recalibrated. You think you can extort my son with a piece of paper? I think your son signed a legal agreement and then violated it. That agreement is toilet paper. No judge will enforce $1 million penalty. Your son has assets, I said evenly. His trust, his stake in the business you pretend he doesn't have, the Miami condo he pretends he doesn't own. His face flushed. You knew about that? I do my homework. I met his stare. Try me. He left in a rage that smelled like expensive cologne and entitlement. I saved the footage. I saved everything. That night, the house was so quiet I could hear the water heater sigh. I made tea. I didn't drink and stood by the window, watching the streetlight fracture in the steam. I didn't feel victorious. I felt awake. You can love the color in someone, I thought, and still insist they respect the margins. If they don't, the document you signed becomes a mirror, and the mirror doesn't lie. The morning after Richard's visit, Lily called before sunrise. Gavin's lawyer reached out, she said. They're testing the water. Already? He's claiming the clause is punitive, not compensatory. I smiled without humor. He might want to check his client's Instagram before he makes that argument. Lily's sigh was the sound of a chess player waiting for an opponent to move. Send me everything again, she said. Videos, screenshots, timestamps. I'll start building the file. I forwarded it all. The laughing posts, the texts, the video, even the hotel receipt Marissa had emailed to the wrong address last month. A perfect paper trail, every receipt and digital echo folded neatly like a lawyer's dream. Then I shut my phone off. For a week, my house was a cave with Wi-Fi. My hands learned stillness again. I worked, I ran, I vacuumed until the lines on the carpet looked like order pretending to hold back chaos. By Thursday, Gavin's tone had changed again. Gavin, can we please fix this? I'll go to therapy. We can figure something out. You're blowing this up for nothing. Gavin, if you don't talk to me, I'll go public. Don't make me do that. He went public anyway. On Friday, he posted a glossy black and white selfie captioned, Some people confuse love with control. I won't be silenced. #healing, #truth. Within hours, Marissa shared it to her story with a heart emoji. Comments poured in. Friends, clients, influencers who love the drama. She's toxic. You deserve better. I didn't respond. Lily did. Her firm's letter went out that afternoon. Cease and desist. Defamation. Violation of contractual confidentiality. And notice of enforcement of clause. By Monday, my inbox filled with journalist requests. I deleted everyone. I wasn't going to feed the story. The evidence would do that for me when it mattered. Then came the counterpunch. A courier arrived with an envelope thick enough to bruise. Pierce v. Calder. Allegations of fraud, coercion, emotional distress. The works. I called Lily. They're hoping you'll settle, she said. But they've opened the door to discovery. That means we get to see everything. His finances, correspondence, business records, including the partnership with Marissa. Do it, I said. 2 weeks later, I sat in Lily's office surrounded by printouts and silence. The discovery files were a labyrinth of half-truths. Gavin's boutique agency had funneled personal expenses through business accounts, travel, dinners, even jewelry. Marissa's name was on every invoice. 8 months, Lily said, tracing a finger along the timeline. They started before you even moved in together. I stared at the receipts. She was helping him build campaigns, Gavin had said once. Now I could see what they were really building. Lily looked up. This isn't just infidelity, it's intent. The texts show her calling you an easy mark with decent savings. That language will crush them in court. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not even satisfaction. Just the clean, sterile click of truth slotting into place. The next morning, Gavin's father called again. No threats this time, just exhaustion. Can we settle quietly? He asked. Talk to Lily, I said, and tell your son to read what he signs next time. A week later, Marissa cracked first. Lily got the call at 8:12 a.m. She's agreed to testify, Lily said. She's admitting the affair, confirming the messages. She wants immunity from damages. Grant it, I said. Let her talk. When the deposition transcript arrived, I read it alone, lights low. Marissa's words were precise, stripped of vanity. He said he'd marry her, then divorce after a year, that he'd be set for life. I told him it was cruel. He said, she's got a good heart, but not the kind that wins. My stomach turned. Not from shock. Those words only confirmed what I'd felt under my skin for months, but from the realization that my intuition had been right every single time. That night, I walked through the empty rooms of my house. Every object seemed sharper. The framed art, the hum of the refrigerator, the faint reflection of myself in the window glass. Control isn't the absence of chaos, I thought. It's remembering who you are when chaos calls you names. The next morning, Gavin called from a new number. You absolute psychopath, he said. $1 million? You're insane. You signed it, I said. I didn't read it. That's on you, I said. It's an expensive lesson in literacy. He went silent for a beat. Then, you set me up. No, I said. You set yourself up when you decided fidelity was optional. He hung up. The following day, Gregory Hutchinson, his attorney, called Lily. I was on speaker. Ms. Calder, our client is willing to walk away quietly. No penalty, no claims on your assets. Lily smiled. Your client violated the contract. We have video, signed documentation, and public admissions. We'll proceed to trial. You'd really expose this? Gregory asked. The scandal? She created it, Lily said. We're just filing the paperwork. After that, silence again. For 3 weeks. Then a final call. My client wants to settle, Gregory said. $500,000 now, half later, with an NDA. No NDA, Lily said before I could speak. Full payment. $700,000 within 30 days, $300,000 over 1 year. Otherwise, see you in court. A pause, then, done. The check cleared 2 weeks later. I watched the bank notification pop up like a digital ghost. Deposit received. $700,000, Helen. I stared at it until it stopped feeling real. Then I locked my phone, made tea, and opened the windows. The air smelled like something ending. That night, Lily texted, framed your case file. Label reads, always read the fine print. I smiled for the first time in months. I didn't feel richer. I felt clean. When people can't win with truth, they rewrite it. Gavin's rewrite arrived on cue. A week after the settlement hit my account, he resurfaced online with a vengeance. A long, self-pitying post. Some lessons cost more than others. I was manipulated into a contract I didn't understand by someone who weaponized love. Don't let anyone turn your heart into paperwork. The hashtags. #abuse survivor, #gaslighted, #male victim. The comments poured in, Marissa among the first to like it. Friends I'd once hosted for dinner reposted it with captions like, "This is why men don't open up." I didn't respond. Silence, I'd learned, is more credible than outrage. But I kept everything. Screenshots, timestamps, IP traces from burner accounts, parroting the same phrases. Lily and her team quietly built a defamation file while I watered my plants and tried to sleep. 3 days later, Richard Pierce called again, voice ragged, dignity frayed. "Do you know what you've done to my family?" "I didn't do anything, Richard. I enforced an agreement your son mocked." "You destroyed his reputation." "I didn't destroy it," I said softly. "He donated it to public opinion himself." He hung up. Then came the surprise. A second lawsuit, Pierce v. Calder, round 2, this time claiming I'd leaked intimate material and ruined Gavin's career prospects. It was absurd. The video had never been made public. Still, it meant another round of discovery. This time, Lily smiled when she told me. "Every motion they file gives us new access," she said. "Let's see how far the rot goes." The rot went deep. We uncovered bank transfers from Gavin's company account to a shell account labeled MK Creative Development, tied directly to Marissa. The transfers lined up perfectly with trips, gifts, and one suspicious branding retreat in Miami. 3 nights, Lily murmured, scrolling through receipts. 2 flights, 1 suite, 1 minibar charge for $484. The romance tax. The emails were worse. Marissa had written to a friend. "Once we're married, it's all community property. 1 year of polite smiles and I'll be set. He's too scared to fight me." Except he wasn't Gavin. It was me. The discovery cracked their alliance wide open. Marissa's attorney tried to withdraw her earlier testimony, claiming duress. The judge denied it. Every attempt to wriggle out only tightened the net. Lily called it the irony clause. People mock the net until they're tangled in it. By late spring, settlement negotiations restarted, this time with less arrogance and more desperation. Gregory Hutchinson sounded older on the phone. "My client is willing to finalize the payments early in exchange for a confidentiality clause." "No NDA," Lily said. "Full payment, all claims withdrawn, and a signed acknowledgement that Ms. Calder acted within her legal rights." "That's unprecedented," Gregory said. "So is this level of stupidity," Lily replied. He sighed. "We'll discuss with opposing counsel." When we hung up, I stared out Lily's window. The city looked different, less like a battlefield, more like a map I'd redrawn. "You ever feel guilty?" I asked quietly. "For what?" "For being right." Lily studied me. "Guilt is for the reckless. You were careful. There's a difference." The official settlement came through a week later. Gavin would pay the remaining $300,000 over 12 months. The agreement was public record now, stripped of NDAs, framed in the neutral language of law but humming underneath with humiliation. News outlets started sniffing around again. Anonymous source confirms influencer hit with 7-figure infidelity penalty. I said nothing. The truth was oxygen enough. Then one afternoon, a courier arrived with an envelope. Inside, a handwritten letter on heavy stationery. "Tessa, you won. Congratulations. I hope the money keeps you warm at night." Gee, no signature, just that. I placed it in a folder labeled Evidence, Miscellaneous, and forgot about it. But he wasn't done. A week later, Marissa posted a tearful video, mascara smudged, lighting theatrical. "Women can be abusers too," she said. "Some hide behind legality. Some use love as leverage. We all make mistakes, but no one deserves financial ruin for it." It went viral. Comments split in half pitying her, half calling her out. Within hours, screenshots of the prenup clause leaked, posted anonymously, of course. People recognized the details. The narrative started shifting again. For the first time, I saw something raw in the public response. Not outrage, respect. The quiet kind that lives in comment sections without emojis. One said, "She didn't ruin their lives. She just kept the receipt." At our final hearing, the judge signed the dismissal order. I expected triumph. Instead, I felt the ache of an old wound closing too slowly. Lily glanced at me. "How does it feel?" "Like the noise finally stopped," I said. "Good." She slid the copy of the order across the table. "Frame this one next to the first. Call it closure." I laughed softly. "You're sentimental for a lawyer." "I'm practical," she said. "Same thing." That evening, I walked home through the quiet streets, the kind of dusk that feels both forgiving and precise. My reflection in a storefront window looked almost like someone I used to know. Gavin had once called me boring for color coding my life. Maybe he was right. Maybe boring is just what peace looks like from the outside. 3 months passed. The quiet became routine, my favorite kind of silence. Predictable, orderly, unremarkable. The money from the settlement sat in an untouched account. I didn't spend a cent. Every so often I logged in, just to see the balance glint like proof that restraint can be louder than revenge. Then, one Wednesday afternoon, the intercom buzzed. "Tessa Calder?" a voice asked. "Yes." "There's a visitor. Says it's urgent." The name came through distorted but familiar. Gavin Pierce. I almost laughed. I'd imagined this moment a dozen times, every version sharper, colder, crueler. When I opened the door, reality was smaller. He looked thinner, like life had scraped some of the gloss off him. No suit, no cologne, just a man who'd lost the right to swagger. "Can we talk?" he said. "You shouldn't be here. I just need 5 minutes." He stepped inside before I answered, the way he always used to, like consent was just a formality people offered him for sport. The air between us thickened with ghosts, laughter that used to belong here, plans that had dissolved into paperwork. "I'm paying you $1 million, he said finally. "The least you can do is hear me out." "The least I can do," I said, "is nothing, which is what I'm doing." He flinched. "You don't have to pretend you're fine. You loved me." "No," I said quietly. "I love the man I thought you could become." Turns out he was a limited edition run. Gavin's jaw tightened. "You destroyed me. I enforced a contract you mocked." "Over one mistake?" "Over 8 months of them. Over contempt. Over arrogance." His voice rose. "You planned this. The clause, the setup, you trapped me." I met his eyes. I planned for the possibility that someone who laughed at my caution might betray me. Turns out I was right. He laughed then, bitter and broken. "Congratulations. You turned love into litigation." "No," I said. "You turned trust into evidence." For a heartbeat, he looked like he might apologize. Then the mask snapped back. "You'll never find anyone after this. No one wants a woman who sues her fiancé." "I'm not looking," I said. "Peace isn't something you find in someone else's pockets." He shook his head and walked out without another word. The door closed with a soft click, the kind that doesn't echo because it's final. That night, I found the old prenup file on my laptop. I scrolled past clauses and signatures until I reached the last page, executed voluntarily and with full understanding of all terms. Gavin's name looped across the line, confident, careless. It still amazed me how arrogance could look so permanent in ink. I archived the file, made tea, and sat by the window. The city hummed below. Dishwashers, traffic lights, other people's chaos. My own house felt still, the kind of still that hums with meaning. Lily called the next morning. "Final transfer came through," she said. "Full million, confirmed." "Good," I said. "Close the account, move it to investment." "You're really not touching it?" "I might," I said, eventually. Scholarship fund, maybe. Financial literacy for women. Something that costs less than ignorance. Lily chuckled softly. "Fitting." Weeks later, I received one last letter, this time from Elaine Pierce. It was handwritten, elegant, almost trembling. "Tessa, I won't ask you to forgive Gavin. I wouldn't if I were you. But I wanted you to know that he finally read the agreement. Every word. He said it was the first contract in his life he truly understood. Maybe that's something." Elaine. I stared at the paper for a long time before folding it into a drawer. Maybe it was something. Maybe it wasn't. Closure, I was learning, doesn't need a verdict. It's been 6 months since the noise stopped. My firm is busier than ever. Clients come to me for structure, for quiet authority, for contracts that mean what they say. Funny how competence becomes charisma when the world's on fire. Sometimes over coffee, Lily jokes that I should write a book. Title it The Clause She Laughed At, she says. You'd sell out in a week. Maybe she's right. But mostly, I'm just grateful. Grateful I trusted my instincts. Grateful I had the spine to enforce consequences even when the world called it cold. Grateful the net held. Because in the end, that's what it was all for, the net. Not to trap anyone, just to remind myself that I mattered enough to protect. The prenup Gavin laughed at, the one I was too careful to need, saved me from a lifetime with someone who saw respect as optional. And that, I've learned, is worth far more than $1 million.